Hey there everyone, welcome back to Utility Sports. Really excited for this video as we're going to discuss the sleeping giant of the NBA, and I'm really looking forward to this one. I think this is one of the most important topics in the NBA right now and for the next 8 months or so up until NBA free agency, the NBA draft. This is going to be one of the pressing topics, and I think I've talked about it already more than anyone else, and I think it's really going to continue to be, again, like I said, one of the most important topics. So make sure to stay tuned all the way through this video. This is as encompassing as I can possibly be at this point in time. If you guys do enjoy all the hard work that goes into these videos, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, hit that notification bell. It is literally 2 in the morning my time. I work at 8 a.m. today. I have not slept yet. I was working for about 12 hours today. I am grinding for you guys, making sure this video gets out when it does. And a lot of people were guessing in the last video what team number 6 was. I kind of alluded to a 6th team in a video where I talked about some of the teams positioned to make a big time trade. And I said, look, there's a team that's going to get its own video. This is that video. A lot of people had some great guesses. You're going to see some of those flashing on the screen now. I think that those teams that you guys brought up are in positions to make some nice moves and kind of really further their franchises, but none of them up to the level of this team, and that is the Philadelphia 76ers, who are firmly in the driver's seat, not only right now, but for the foreseeable future, because they are really, really good. The 76ers just beat the Boston Celtics the night I am recording this. They've had a fantastic start to the season. Tyrese Maxey has taken all of the steps forward that they need from him. Joel Embiid is playing like an MVP candidate. They've got contributions from Nick Batum and some of the other guys on their roster as well. Tobias Harris, I think, is a really underrated hooper. This team is good, but I think they're going to be in a position to completely shake up the NBA for a few different reasons. First of all, let's look at their tradable draft choices. Of course, they just shook up the NBA with the James Harden trade. The Clippers are 0-2 since that trade. I wouldn't really hit the panic button on them yet. There's going to take a little bit of time for them to find their rhythm. But for the Sixers, who have some rhythm already, just given the fact they didn't have Harden this year, well, we've seen Maxey leap board, and they have assets to trade now. They own their own 2024 first-round pick, which becomes tradable on draft night. They would trade the draft rights to a player. So essentially, they have Team X on the phone. They tell Team X, okay, we'll draft whoever you want here. Let us know. And then they trade that player and its draft rights to that team. Draft night's going to be a super important night. You guys can remember this. I'm saying this Thursday morning, 1:44 in the morning on November 9th. And I'm saying it well before the NBA draft. I'm going to tell you right now, this pick probably gets traded. The 2024 first, which becomes tradable on draft night. I'd be shocked if the Sixers kept it for a couple of reasons. We'll talk about that in this video. 2026, they have now the least favorable of the following: Oklahoma City, Houston, and Los Angeles Clippers. They will have the lowest pick of the 3 in 2026. That is tradable. They have the Clippers now unprotected first-round pick in 2028. That is tradable. They have their own first-round pick in 2028, their own first-round pick in 2029, their own first-round pick in 2030, as well as swap rights with the Clippers in 2029. Now note, if they were to try and trade all 3 of their 2028, 2029, and 2030 first, the 2029 first would have to be traded as a swap, and since they already have technically a swap best with the Clippers that year, you're basically looking at some flexibility of what that could really look like in the trade market, right? Because you're trading a swap best, which means the team inquiring about that swap best would really have the swap best among 3 teams if that were to get redealt. I know, kind of confusing, but this is really important. This is going to preface some of what we talk about later in the video and why I think the 76ers are more poised than any other team right now to completely turn the league upside down. And it's just crazy, and it comes down to Morey's money management. I've been tweeting about this for a long time. It's been pretty clear and evident and obvious that this is the pathway the Sixers were looking to go when they did not extend James Harden when he opted into his contract. And then they traded him for expirings that just validated everything I felt. The Sixers, going into next season, will have only 3 guys on the books. One of them is the MVP of the league, Joel Embiid, at $51.4 million. One of them is Paul Reed, who currently is not guaranteed any money, will become guaranteed if they make it to the second round of the playoffs due to the contract offer sheet that the Jazz gave Paul Reed. And then Jaden Springer at $4 million. If you do the math there, this team currently on its books has about $62 million. And, well, the cap next year is going to be roughly around $138-ish million or so. So if you do the math here, with Springer being a tradable contract, they're going to have somewhere in the ballpark of $70 million in cap space, which is very significant. But you might be saying, well, they only have 3 players. Of course, they'll have that much cap space. There are some other aspects that get built into this as well. They have a bunch of impending free agents, guys that, you don't want to lose all of them. Tobias Harris, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, DeAnthony Melton, Patrick Beverley. He's had a nice beginning of the year for them. Kelly Oubre's had some awesome moments already early on. Marcus Morris, Daniil House Jr., Mo Bamba, KJ Martin, who they acquired in the Clippers trade. And one more guy. First of all, before we get to that last guy, who is very, very important, probably one of the most important names to keep our eyes on this season, looking at these players, it's possible the Sixers could retain them. Patrick Beverley, around the minimum, or maybe biannual exception number. Kelly Oubre, he's playing on the minimum right now. Maybe the biannual exception number last year, or next year, or perhaps, something a little bit north of that biannual exception, maybe tax pyramid level. The whole point here is all of these players on this list, I think they're okay if they ultimately lose any or all of them, depending on how free agency plays out. Now, I'm not saying that, cut and dry, the Sixers aren't retaining any of these players, but these guys all come off the books. The Sixers could theoretically cut the cap holds on all of these guys and feel comfortable. The only player they for sure, I 100% can guarantee, will not lose the cap hold on is Tyrese Maxey, and there's a few reasons why. Tyrese Maxey, of course, just having a fantastic start to the season, and when you look at his qualifying offer, it's only a little bit north of $6 million, and his cap hold currently projects to be a little bit north of $13 million, and I counted that into their $70 million in practical cap space that I estimated earlier. With them keeping Tyrese Maxey on that cap hold, which is why they have not extended him. If they extended him, he would probably be making around $30 to $34 million a year. Instead, he's going to be an estimate on their cap table at $13 million, which gives them an extra $17 to $21 million in cap space to actually work with. And then using bird rights on Tyrese Maxey, they can re-sign him later on into free agency, and this is absolutely genius by Daryl Morey. I had suggested years ago that the Miami Heat would do this, coming off the trip to the NBA Finals with Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler. I said, look, Bam Adebayo was in this exact same situation. I said they should not extend him. They should wait, give him his money later, and they could add another star talent next to those two guys. They chose not to do that. Obviously, it's worked out well for them because they've still been very good, but imagine if they got an extra star in there next to those two guys. We fantasized about Damian Lillard in Miami all offseason. The Heat had a pathway to do it. They didn't do it. I said that was dumb when they didn't do it, and I would say I'm validated in that because their team could have been even better if they had just been patient on a cap mechanism, which is exactly what the 76ers are doing here by just saving money. And some people are going to say, oh, well, why does Maxey get punished for getting drafted lower and having a lower cap hold? There's no punishment here for Maxey. Getting extended doesn't really change his future in the NBA, especially with how well he has started this season. I think Maxey hits the open market. You're looking at a player that gets a max contract. Tyrese Maxey is not getting hurt here by waiting for his extension, unless there's some type of really bad career-ending type injury, which we're going to knock on wood for. We're going to hope that that does not happen. The likelihood of that is extremely, extremely low, to the point where his agent feels probably comfortable, kind of assessing that risk. And this season, Maxey's putting up great numbers, all-star level numbers, in the absence of James Harden next to Joel Embiid as the true number 2 option now, with over 25 points per game, 7 assists per game, 5 rebounds a game. He's essentially doubled his rebounding numbers. And I think really the assist category is the one that I want to focus on. We've already known Tyrese Maxey can fill it up, put the ball in the hoop. This year, he's kind of transitioning more into a lead guard. That completely changes the narrative around Philadelphia. That completely changes the picture around Tyrese Maxey and how everyone's going to view him and how they're going to view the dynamic duo of Maxey plus Embiid. And you're going to be able to attract other players coming in, especially since Maxey's grown as a short roll passer. He's done a great job of that this year. There's been some fantastic flashes of things that, we saw James Harden doing for them a year ago. Maxey's picking up some of those nuances of the point guard position. I think he's getting a lot better. Even if his numbers don't increase from where they are currently, he is a tremendously better player than he was a year ago. To be honest, I wouldn't care if his numbers were the same. The skills that you actually see watching the television screen or if you're at the games, it stands out. Tyrese Maxey is just an unbelievable talent, and I think he's really finding that good combination of using his speed to attack, but also kind of manipulating a defense and getting to certain spots and executing what Nick Nurse wants to see, and that's been a huge success so far for the Sixers, who are playing really, really good basketball despite a big dramatic shift in their organization around James Harden. And that's why we have to talk about Morey this offseason. I intentionally chose this picture because this is what Daryl Morey is going to look like all offseason long. The phone is going to be working. He's going to rack up the phone bill. He's going to spend way too many minutes on the phone. And the reason for that is he's going to be having a lot of discussions, not only with other GMs, executives, but with agents and with players. He's going to be a very, very busy man, and I think that's really good for Philadelphia. And that's the entire point of this video. They have Maxey, they have Embiid, they also have Paul Reed and Jaden Springer on the books. They're set up to land guys, whether that's via trade or free agency. Let's start with 4 trade candidates I could see the Sixers targeting. Zach LaVine. A lot of people are thinking that Philadelphia is going to go after someone this season, before the offseason. I don't see that. I think that they're going to be very patient. They're going to see what this team can actually do. They're going to allow Tyrese Maxey to continue to be the primary ball handler. They're going to put him in a position to succeed. They're going to give themselves a full year to evaluate the roster as it currently sits, and then they will add players in starting July 1, or like I said, the night of the draft. That's really when this whole thing starts for them, because this is when guys like Zach LaVine, coming off of probably a down year for the Bulls, not that LaVine himself is, but the Bulls will be not good like I predicted this year. Donovan Mitchell for the Cavaliers, there's a lot of rumors and speculation right now that he is not safe there in Cleveland, which I could have told you when they traded for him. I had some long-term concerns about his willingness to stay. The New York rumors were valid. Cleveland took a big risk. We'll see if it pays off for them. Brandon Ingram for the New Orleans Pelicans. He's a walking bucket, and I could see him becoming available, especially if the Pelicans do not live up to expectations this year. There's just been a lot of concerns about health and, kind of the ability for New Orleans to string together healthy, good, consistent seasons. They haven't done it up to this date so far, and, we're past Zion Williamson's rookie contract, essentially. So, we're pretty far into this to, have some real serious concerns. And then Mikal Bridges for Brooklyn. I think probably the hottest name in the trade landscape right now. I think Bridges is a really fantastic player who's very moldable, fits alongside any star player, would really be a perfect third star next to Embiid and Maxey, which is why I think putting him on this list makes a ton of sense, especially now the Sixers, like I said, have a ton of trade assets. They have a ton of draft picks, and the most important part is they literally have the money to take these guys in. Mikal Bridges is a perfect option because he is the cheapest on this list right now in terms of his annual salary, which makes Mikal Bridges probably the most valuable for Philadelphia. You're looking at the Villanova kid, local, right? You're bringing him in, and you're able to keep a lot of your financial flexibility open as well, which is where we get into the free agency discussion. And there's a lot of potential high leverage free agents this offseason. We'll start with LeBron James, who has a player option. I'd be surprised if he leaves Los Angeles, but Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, both player options as well. I almost included James Harden on this graphic. Part of me is concerned. I'm saying this now, November 9th, 2 in the morning at this point. I'm saying it right now. I think there's a real possibility that maybe this whole James Harden, Daryl Morey drama, maybe, just maybe, there's something brewing in which there's a little bit of a long-term tactic where Harden gets traded. He opted into his contract to help out Daryl Morey. Right now he's pretending to hate Morey. get some assets out of the Clippers, and then all of a sudden he's a free agent again at the end of the year. Maybe, just maybe, he finds his way to Philadelphia. I'm kind of kidding, kind of not. I don't, the whole thing is a little whatever. There's rumors that that's exactly what happened when he was traded to Brooklyn, and then ultimately did want to play for Daryl Morey after Morey quit on Houston. PG Kawhi, there's not real likelihood that those two guys leave Los Angeles, but the Clippers are at a real teetering spot in their franchise right now. Drew Holiday for the Boston Celtics. I know the Sixers had interest in acquiring him this season. Ultimately couldn't get it done. Now they have the James Harden trade behind them. They have more assets. They also are going to be able to operate with cap space. Drew Holiday is a guy that I think would make some sense for them. OG Anunoby, he's definitely going to turn down that player option. It's extremely low for what his market value is. He would be, again, like Mikal Bridges, a great asset to add. Imagine OG and Bridges there together next to Maxey and Embiid. That could be a realistic possibility. Pascal Siakam's a player I've highlighted multiple times. Not a player option for him. He's just an outright free agent. He would be a great addition. Klay Thompson, his shooting. Will he retire a Golden State Warrior? I'm not certain at this point. He did not get a deal done. Ultimately, if I had to guess, I think he stays in Golden State. And then DeMar DeRozan. I've talked about the Bulls. I have a video up on the channel about how the Bulls are a team that everything's got to go. They've got to kind of restart their roster right now. I'm not sure that they'll do that. I don't believe in Arturas Karnisovas to be the type of guy to sell like that. But they're a tire fire right now. And I think DeRozan to Philadelphia could make some good sense, although he is quite a ways into his 30s like a couple of these other players. So, there is some concern there as well if he's the right player to go get. But then there's other key free agents, and these aren't the max contract guys. These are affordable options that could help them who are free agents this offseason. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, we've seen him be a key part on 2 different championship teams. He could be a big-time contributor for them. Buddy Hield, the three-point shooting would be immaculate in Philadelphia, playing off of Maxey's speed and Embiid's post-up game. Hield would be a really seamless kind of fit offensively. Now defensively there are some limitations. There's a reason he's coming off of Indiana's bench to start this season, but at the end of the day he could definitely still help Philadelphia. Tobias Harris, D'Anthony Melton, 2 guys who, yes, there's asterisks by their name because those are impending Sixers free agents. Maybe there's a world that they work out some type of new deals to stay there. Tobias obviously for significantly less money. D'Anthony Melton around the same value. He's been playing on maybe even a little bit more, kind of around $9 to $10 million a year for him. Something I could see happening. Malik Monk, I'd be surprised if he leaves Sacramento, but another name to monitor at least. Philadelphia, they're going to be able to operate with money, and it might not just be 2 max guys. It might be a max guy plus some depth. And that's why, I really want to highlight some of these guys. Someone like Slow-Mo in Minnesota, who I think is honestly one of the more underrated players in the league. Basically a point guard in a forward's body. Really smart, does a lot of nice things, could give you some good high-low sets between him and Embiid against zones. And I think, honestly, having like the fastest player in the league, Tyrese Maxey, with the slowest player in the league, and Kyle Anderson, is kind of a fun storyline to follow. So, maybe Slow-Mo to Philly would be quite fun, although I'm not going to necessarily bet on that. I'm just, throwing out some names that I think could make some sense that Philly would have some interest in targeting. But really, when we talk about the 76ers team next year, it's all about potential options that they have. Here's one: Tyrese Maxey, Donovan Mitchell in a trade, Tobias Harris, Mikal Bridges in a trade, Joel Embiid. So here you're sending all of the draft assets, everything that you possibly can goes out the door in what is a big, massive combination of trades for Mitchell and Bridges. The Cavs feel pressure, can't really get a deal done for Mitchell. He declines an extension, and all of a sudden they're sweating. Mikal Bridges, this would really hinge on him requesting a trade, especially if Brooklyn doesn't have the year this year that they're hoping to have. But this is a really great team, especially if they're able to retain Tobias Harris. Mikal Bridges being so cheap helps you kind of maintain some of that flexibility to get something like Tobias Harris done. And all of a sudden the Sixers are cooking with gas. They have one of the best starting 5s in the league. They're really, really good, with multiple all-star level players. In fact, 4 of them. Maxey is going to be an all-star this year. Mitchell's a former all-star. Mikal Bridges is an all-star level talent. Embiid an MVP level talent. And, Tobias Harris, he's played at an all-star level before. Hasn't been named an all-star, but and he's not that level of player anymore, but he's a good player. And if the Sixers roll into next season looking like this, they're dangerous. How about another potential option? Maybe they go out and sign Buddy Hield, they trade for Brandon Ingram and sign Pascal Siakam. That's something that's realistic. Maybe they use their mid-level exception on Hield, get Ingram in the door via trade, and they flat out sign Siakam using cap space. Again, with the financial flexibility Daryl Morey's opened up, his money management, they have so many different pathways to improving this team and being really, really good really, really soon. This offseason is going to be one to just remember if you're a Sixers fan, because I think they're so well set up. How about another option? Maybe Kentavious Caldwell-Pope from Denver, Kawhi Leonard from the Clippers if he does dart in free agency. Again, my expectation is he doesn't. And then maybe Mikal Bridges, right? KCP, Kawhi, both free agents. Mikal's your trade target. And the Sixers are lined up to really have a big four if they're able to actually execute in the offseason. The big four is going to consist of Maxey and Embiid, plus probably free agent one and trade target one. In this case, the free agent one is Kawhi Leonard. The trade target one is Mikal Bridges. And then from there, you have mid-level exception, maybe a little bit of extra wiggle room and cap space. Off the bench, you're bringing Paul Reed, who's a really good backup big man at this point, and Jaden Springer, who I think's shown enough flashes for you to have some belief in him. There's still going to be challenges to fleshing out the rest of that roster, building the rest of the team up, but the reality is they could be really, really good. And I think if you're looking at what this team has currently, you have a really good, sound, strong infrastructure with Maxey, Embiid, and Nick Nurse. And you could build any type of roster around those guys. You could put another guard next to Maxey because we've seen him dominate with James Harden there. You could put a bunch of wings by them because we've seen Maxey now kind of step up big time as a lead guard. This team is going to have a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of optionality, and ultimately at the end of the day, it comes down to what Daryl Morey wants to do and what he can ultimately get done, because I think the players that they have give them enough flexibility to kind of wiggle and make whatever move that they want to make, because they have the talent that can kind of morph and fit around that, which is really hard to have in the NBA. And I think it's a real testament to Tyrese Maxey specifically with his flexibility, moldability, everything I've heard about the kid. He just is a really great locker room presence, someone who always has a smile on his face. That's the most common description I've heard of him from people who have personal relationships with him. And I think that goes a long way in making something like this work, which I'm expecting the Sixers to be able to do. So in conclusion, Morey's got the money and the power. That's a Kid Ink quote right there for any of my rap fans out there. And I'm just saying, watch out for Philly. They're the team number 6. They're the sleeping giant in the NBA right now. Most teams, I'm sure, at this point are already aware of what's probably going to happen in 8 months. But for you guys, I wanted to make sure you were aware, because this is something that I think is going to completely change the landscape of the NBA. Not only is your favorite team potentially going to lose a player, but they're probably going to Philadelphia. There's a big trade on the horizon. Again, in my opinion, my estimation, it is not this season unless something crazy happens, maybe with Donovan Mitchell, and it will not be for just small pieces. They're going to do something big, and I think that's really, really important to note. Is Philadelphia is not doing this to, kind of nip around the edges and get slightly better. They're not going to make a small trade here. They're going to do something big. If that means they don't win the finals this season, they are probably internally okay with that. They're going to do something that they think can set themselves up for serious title contention for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And what I've laid out, trades for Bridges and Donovan Mitchell or whatever you have, they're going to be in position to get something done, and they're going to be aggressive doing so. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video. Make sure to check out some of those other ones right now. Take it easy, guys.